All right, all right.
Are we on?
We're on.
Oh, yay!
Hey, thank you guys for watching the silliness show.
Yeah.
I think we should call it. I'm Nyssa.
I'm Sylla.
Together we make silliness
Yeah.
at the Atlantic Institute of Aromatherapy. We have a very exciting breaking news brief for you here today.
Oh my, oh hell yes!
That's right. We're going to put on our party dress.
I'm so excited I got my party dress on.
So what? Tell them. Tell them. This is your news to share.
Well, it's just because I love the saying, obviously, and I say it whenever I get excited. I'm like, yes! But the reason is, this journal issue.
Woo, 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 woo. Shout out to Laura Cantelli and
Yes.
the IJPHA. So you guys don't see that. That's the International Journal for Professional Holistic Aromatherapy. If you haven't subscribed, get your subscription.
And you might not be able to get this issue, but you might still can if you hurry up.
That's right.
This issue, the whole entire issue, is debunking functional group theory.
Woo!
Not supported by current evidence and not a useful educational tool.
Now, I want to just go ahead and say that I have heard her talking about this issue. Not this issue of the journal, but but this issue within aromatherapy for, I don't know, decades, really. And she would always be like, we can't. Anyways, you explain.
Well, it's been around since the 90s. It came about with Daniel Penoel and Pierre Francombe. And they created this chart to
you very well may have seen.
Place all of the functional groups. So what they wanted to say is that ketones do this and monoterpenes do that. And I've always that's not it. I've always said that that's not right. And we finally have a very comprehensive article by Robert Tisserand, Marco Vellucci, and Joy Bowles. So everything you ever wanted to know about it is in here. But one of the reasons I wanted to share with you guys is not only have we not taught it, we have taught it in order to show why we don't teach it. Because everybody teaches this. Everybody teaches structure, function, or there's really two different things.
So what is
functional group? It means the functional group that's on the molecule, and in this case it breaks down into all of our essential oil components. So we have ketones and monoterpenes and sesquiterpenes and ethers and esters and oxides and all of those little things.
So all of those categories of constituents, families,
chemical families,
are determined by the, or are classified by this particular structure on the molecule, and that's what makes it a ketone and yada.
And the other part of this theory is what they call SAR, structure, action, relationship. And this is common in pharmaceuticals where the structure of a molecule will cause an action. And so this has been used to show people why ketones are toxic, or monoterpenes are stimulant, or antispasmodic. And this whole literature explains that, yeah, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Some are, some aren't. And it's become a problem.
So not all monoterpenes have a particular...
No. So for instance, I'm just opening up here to the ethers. And this has never been addressed in the functional group theory. It says that the carcinogens found are all ethers, estradiol, safrole, methyl eugenol, and a few others. But there's also ethers that are not carcinogenic. And the same with the furocoumarins, the molecules that cause phototoxicity. They're not addressed in functional group. So there are some structure-function relationships that have been validated, but there are few examples. These few examples do not validate the totality of the functional group claims.
So you can't say, just because some of them do something, you can't say that all of them do something. And unfortunately what's happened, the trend in the aromatherapy educational world has been to teach chemistry in this way. That's been your issue with it, right?
Yeah, and this is why I've always said, wait a minute, this isn't right. Anyway, So, just another little quote here. It is nothing more than false inductive reasoning that leads to classifying all constituents within a functional group as a quality, such as neurotoxic compounds of ketones. And so we can't do that. Now, there's a couple of more things I wanted to just read to you here because I went through and marked. The best thing we can do is learn which ketones are toxic and avoid those oils. And we can learn the properties of each oil individually and not try to put them into a category. This is why I'm no longer going to call oils by their class, as I have them listed in my own manual.
So this is something that's come up as we've been preparing our featured essential oil and our essential oil exploration in our Inner Sanctum membership. The last go around, I'm taking the stuff that she's got in the Aromatherapy Practitioner Reference Manual, which if you don't have it, definitely get yourself a copy of that. It's got almost everything you need for doing aromatherapy in there. But she does fall under that old model of listing this biochemical class. And when she saw that, as we were doing these new notes, she's like, oh my goodness, we gotta take this stuff out. So if you have the manual, you can just cross that part out and just look at the chemistry of the individual oil.
And as we go through these oils in our profiles, I'm correcting a lot of stuff that I didn't know better back then. You know, or I put this in, but I gotta explain, I didn't say this. So-and-so said this, that's why it's in there. So a lot of the material over the years that I've used, I'm changing. I mean,
because that's how science goes, and that's how humans go. Is we're always growing and changing.
Yeah.
So what else do they need to know about the functional group theory, or how can what can we do with this information?
Well, first of all, we need to understand it, and this will take a little while, especially if you're like most people who don't want to know anything about chemistry.
Is that you? That was past tense. That was me.
But here's a way for you to really get intrigued about it and understand it by learning what this theory and what has been used for the last 30, 40 years to teach aromatherapy and why it's not appropriate. So, maybe this may be the route that you go down to learn more about the chemistry. For me, I love that, but I also love I want to smell them. That's why I created my little kit here, because I didn't really enjoy learning about chemistry, but I did in relation to, what does menthol smell like? Or what is citronellol? So I created my little kit so I could smell those as they were being talked about. And
you can get that kit at AtlanticInstitute.com. Check it out.
That's right. Not to get off subject, but anyway, back to the article here. One of the biggest things I want to talk about is the monoterpene alcohols that people always, they're called central nervous system stimulants. However, their review found that many of them are sedatives. And we found none with evidence of CNS stimulant activity.
Okay, so what's an example of a monoterpene alcohol?
Well, if you look to their little chart here, you're going to find them all here, because their the last part of this entire article is a chart which lists all of the monoterpene alcohols that they could find. So let's just pull one up here.
And you can really see how different they all are.
Yeah. And there's like 20 on Borneol alone, Now one will say it was tested on rats or frogs or humans or whatever. They're going to tell you the activity. They measured the CYP modulation or nerve conduction or so on and so forth. And again, you get your mechanism, and they weren't sedative. So what do we take from that?
Yeah, what's the takeaway here?
Well, the takeaway for me is it's really interesting to look up, if you have a molecule or something is 80% something, and you might want to look that up to see what the biological activities are.
Of that individual molecule.
Yes, because that'll give you an idea. If it's 80%, it's going to have a lot. But a lot of times you got to remember, sometimes it's the trace amounts that make the therapeutic difference.
Right.
So
which is also, well, let's just let's absorb what she just said here, because I think that is, I like to think of aromatherapy as magic. I know that might be controversial, but it's things like this that just make me go, wow, these things are amazing. So she just said that it's the trace amounts, and this isn't across the board, this is definitely a generalization, but there are definitely cases where it's the trace amounts in the essential oils that really make this therapeutic difference. So even though something may only be 1% some component,
it may be
that
the heat component.
1% makes a huge
That
difference
is the
in how
wound
that
healing
oil.
element, like tigalic acid and Roman chamomile. I think I have that right.
I was gonna say, you got
It's
an
a
example. You
minute
got an example.
amount, but it is one of the best. You know, it's like one of the most healing.
And when you look
They
at some of
probably
these,
have some in here too, and I haven't read through the whole thing entirely, but they do point out that we can't, you know, that sometimes it is the trace amounts of things that are the therapeutic. The point is that we don't really know a lot of it. You know, we don't really know exactly.
I mean, we still don't know how the sense of smell works.
Right.
We're still
And so we
figuring
have a
that
long
out.
way to go. But it's very critical to understand this concept and this whole functional group theory and structure-action relationship, because, and I think it's even mentioned in here, you know, you got to look at the whole oil and look at what it's
The whole
done.
oil.
The whole complete oil. And anecdotal or proven references, you know, if it's an anti-inflammatory, yeah, it's been used for 100 years for that. It's going to be still used as an anti-inflammatory. And some of these new uses we kind of have to question with a grain of salt. But the point here is not to get caught up in the trap of
Monoterpenes do this.
Yeah.
Sesquiterpenes do this.
Yeah.
They're training wheels. It's a schema that can help you start to get an understanding about the oils, but know that you gotta leave the training wheels and that you will find exception after exception. So I think of it as like it's giving you little clues.
Yeah.
So if I know that monoterpenes tend to be anti-inflammatory, and I know this oil it does have a large component of monoterpenes, let me look and see what therapeutic properties go with that oil. I can make a guess that it might be anti-inflammatory, but let me look and see what's actually out there on that particular oil.
Yeah.
And also, how does it work for you?
Yeah.
Your own experience really counts when it comes to aromatherapy. Another thing to keep in mind is that they all affect each of us very, very differently. So I hope this doesn't leave you with more confusion.
I
For
hope
me,
it does,
creates.
because this
You
is
hope
a
it
big
leaves you with
deal.
more confusion.
This is a big deal, I'm telling you, because it's rocking our world. A
Well, we
lot
don't
of
want them to be
teachers
confused.
that have always taught this are going to have to revamp their material.
Well, good.
And I'm glad. That's what I mean. Oh, oh, yes, it's about time. Martin
She's
Watt.
celebrating over here.
Back when I first met Martin Watt, he
was
hollered
talking
about it.
about
This
this
is why
stuff.
it's in my book. It's in our course material. I have hollered, you know, maybe not loud enough about it because I wanted to holler about injuries instead, but either way, it has been a contention for a long time, and I really praise Laura for putting this out and the authors for putting it together finally in a really nice format that we can really look at in detail and trust because we trusted Daniel Penowell and Pierre Francom, and they gave us a toy, but it wasn't a real toy, and it didn't quite work right, and now they won't tell us how to fix it. No.
I mean,
they don't
well,
have
I
to.
mean, when you look at their studies, when you read Joy Bowles' book, The Aromatherapeutic Chemistry of Essential Oils, or something like that. But when you read Joy Bowles' chemistry book, you'll see she cites Pierre Francom on lots and lots of things and always says no one's been ever to replicate this data.
It's never been replicated. The whole original quadrant that they set up was based on these electrical values, and that's never been replicated. And
so we've based a lot of aromatherapy education for decades
on a theory.
On a theory. So, anyways,
with that,
we leave you with that, and you can do with that what you will.
Oh hell yes!
This is what I want to know. Have you ever heard about functional group theory before? Is this all new for you? Are you also like Sylla? Hallelujah! Let us know in the comments. We want to keep this conversation going because that's how I learn, and I know that's how you learn. And we want to help you guys learn, but we also want to learn from you. So let us know what you think about all of this. Are you still confused?
And this is not going away, so it's going to be out there for a long time now. I mean, this is just the beginning.
Exactly.
But
so let's keep that conversation
journal.
going. Get this journal, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.